Welcome to another Critique the Community. This critique is on leading lines in photography, and you just created a new critique.
Yes, it is on cliché photos.
Cliché photos. Go over to fstoppers.com/contests, and you can submit your cliché photos. What do you have in mind?
Yeah, so I thought it'd be a little different because obviously cliché photos would rank kind of low because we're gonna say, man, everyone's done this. But I thought, maybe we pick some lower rated photos, mix it up. Some of the people that never get featured, we can feature them.
So wait,
and we might be able to say how you could improve your photography.
But should people be rating this based on how good the image is or how cliché the image is?
I think it should always be how good the image is because maybe it's like little person in a landscape, but it's a really good photo. It still got rated highly.
Okay.
But maybe there's like a good picture of a person on a train tracks that I can't imagine that would rate well, but who knows? I just thought it'd be kind of funny to mix it up a little bit. Maybe we pick some really funny images. Typically our pictures are the highest images, right?
Right, well that's the thing. I feel like to make that critique interesting, we're gonna have to pick the worst of the worst images.
Yeah, and I think there is something to be learned by looking at images that aren't super polished like the ones you're gonna see today. Right, like how much can you learn?
These are not polished today?
These are super polished images. It could be really helpful to see images that are not super polished.
Okay.
And kind of see like, where you could go with something. And it's a little way to poke fun at yourself too. If you have an old image on a hard drive.
We all took the embarrassing, every picture I took had like the lines going off into the distance. I had like the train track photo. I was filling up my car with gas once and I took a picture like down the gas pumps.
Yeah.
And then the featured image is of this model mayhem
Some of the
girl.
images in the montage or collage are my images. But there was a few more like ones like happy women eating salad. That's always like a cliche that they say don't do that, but do those images still sell well?
Yeah, I think they do. Everybody loves
Signing contracts isn't one of your highest selling images, a contract image?
Yeah, I don't know if that's super cliche. Maybe it is. But, all right, let's move on to this critique. Is this the highest rated image?
This is the highest rated image, so congratulations. You can pick out a free tutorial on fstoppers.com/store.
Send me a private message. That's Lee Morris. Send me a private message on Fstoppers. Let me know which tutorial you want. This was taken by Eric Hickey. Shot on an early misty morning in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The structure in the distance is the Milwaukee Art Museum. Interesting. And this is the highest rated image, huh? Because it's not rated very highly on Fstoppers.
This was the highest rated image.
Interesting. This is gonna be a...
Do you think this translates well on YouTube? Because this is a very dark and moody, the image is very far to the left on the histogram.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of highlights and...
I do like it. I'm quickly looking through some of the other ones we're about to critique, and I like the other ones better. But I like this one. Are you ready to rate it?
Yep. Should we go back to the main screen?
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and a 4. I mean, I'm not upset about it. Maybe it's a 4.
How do you feel about really panoramic looking images in your portfolio? Because they obviously don't show up well on your phone or a tablet. A printed book, if you're still printing books and sending them to agencies and stuff
Because books aren't this narrow?
They're not this narrow, and if you put on a single page, it's gonna be a lot of, black or white above it. Do you think there's anything to be gained by having such a wide view?
I do, I really like it. I mean, maybe this isn't itself cliche, but I do really like Peter Lick's work, and this kind of doesn't necessarily remind me of his work in like tones and stuff. He goes like hyper vibrant and everything, and this is much more subdued. But he does these really wide pano shots, and I like this. I don't know, I think it's super cool. And sometimes, I think I say this in every critique, sometimes when photos are like so vibrant and over the top, I'm like, I would never want that in my house. It would just be this bright thing on the wall all the time. Whereas this shot, I think I would like to hang on the wall.
I like that I can't really tell what we're looking at. This looks like a boardwalk, but then this middle I don't even know what that is. Is it a pier or something? Or maybe that's part of the suspension for this bridge that is like you're looking straight down it. It's kind of hard to tell what this object is, you know?
It's been a long time since I've played Half-Life 2, but I feel like this reminds me of the end of Half-Life 2.
Did Half-Life 3 actually come out? Wasn't that a joke and then it finally happened?
Half-Life Alyx came out, which was that VR game that I was playing.
Okay.
And it's pretty incredible. And then at the end of that game, they hinted that officially Half-Life 3. So, I mean, this was kind of Half-Life 3, but at the end of this game, Gordon Freeman.
The joke rolling, or is it that they're actually Half-Life Alyx is a separate thing altogether?
I think it was like, you know how they're doing with Star Wars, where it's like there's the Star Wars movies, but then there's the Star Wars universe movies, like Rogue Squadron or whatever. It's like it's happening within Star Wars, but it's not the main character.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like that. We've taken a strange tangent. Let's move on.
I don't even play video games, so.
You should, man. There's some good ones these days. I just bought a PS5 yesterday. Let me go full screen here. This image was taken by Matthias Dingler. Taken on my first flight with a new drone. It's an HDR that I blended manually. The haze has not been created in Photoshop. The weather was, in fact, that crazy.
Man, what are we looking at? Like, I wish this was higher res so I could zoom in more and see. Because maybe it looks fine on YouTube, but I mean, it's super pixelated here to where, are these rows of crops or trees or vineyards or?
If you just showed me this and didn't say anything, I think I might assume that this was one of these new artificial intelligence created works of art. I feel like this thing is too perfect in some ways, and in other ways, there's just strange, like the way these things are intersecting here. I mean, I assume this is real because he said he was taken with the drone, so this is just some sort of farm of some kind, and you know, that's how they've plowed the ground, but that's crazy looking. It just doesn't look realistic at all to me.
It's funny, I just got approved for that Midjourney app.
Yeah, I did too. I need to sign up for that.
And I feel old because it's in this Discord and you have to use these prompts and stuff. It just feels like, for the longest time I couldn't.
Is that how you get the software, or the Discord actually
It's running through the Discord. So as far as I know, you can't get access to the software. You can just do these prompts, but it's kind of like, is it IRC? Like those chat programs where it's just this feed that's going super fast and you write your prompt. You have to figure that out, which I thought was a little confusing.
Oh.
And then you have to like keep scrolling up to see while yours is built, but then it's constantly pushing. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
It's like everyone who's using this is like in this one Discord
There's
thing?
like 20 different channels, and you pick a channel, and that channel might have 100, 1,000 people in it. Like, you don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just constantly building it, and you know, it's when I saw it posted on Fstoppers or on my Facebook, and people were saying, "Look what I made." I was like, that is incredible. But then as I started using it, I was like, man, there's a lot of failures. There's a lot of them that don't look good, and you can try to feed your own images into it by using URLs. But it's interesting, and I think it is going to be, you know, a paradigm shift in this world. But I don't know. I still have to play around with it a little bit. But I can show you how to do it afterwards. But it's kind of crazy. But I see what you're saying. This does have that vibe where you're like, colorful cornfield, drone, multiple roads, go, you know, and it just builds this, which...
Right. Real quick, on this Midjourney thing, does it output super high-resolution files that you could actually print?
I don't know. I think it shows you 4 variations, and then it gives you an option to say, do you want to pick one of these to do more variations, or do you want to pick one of these to do an upscale version? But that upscale version, I don't know how high res it is. I haven't downloaded it and looked at it. But
Some of the stuff I see people posting on Facebook, I'm like, that is incredible looking art. I would absolutely love to print that and hang that on the wall. You know, we've just got this new house here and all the walls are bare. And so I've been trying to think of what I want to hang on the walls here. And some of the stuff that people are just making up.
Like, I wish I could
wild.
share this, but like, here's a white pony surfing waves, sunshine. Like, there's a lot of really stupid stuff. And sometimes the quality looks horrible. And then other times the quality is amazing. So you kind of have to know the right keywords, and maybe you can even tell it certain engines to use that will be higher res. But like I did a portrait of myself and I said, use this image of me, reference this image, and then I was like, Anne Leibovitz lighting, and what came back was like a picture of a woman behind like a backdrop, and I'm like, that didn't really work out well at all. But I mean, I don't know. It's definitely fun to play around with, but
You'll have to show me how it works.
it also is kind of a novelty. I feel like at this stage, you just kind of do these things, and you're like, all right, that looks a little silly, or that's kind of cool.
But here's the thing, though, and this is what, when I started seeing this stuff at first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. I thought people were actually making this art. And then I kept seeing more and more and more of it, and I'm like, how are you guys creating this so fast? It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, this is some software, artificial intelligence that's just generating this stuff based on keywords. But I've wondered, from the perspective of the creator or the creators of Midjourney or whatever these other ones are called, could they have made more money by keeping this under wraps and just selling art? You know, like how people say Banksy is not a person, Banksy is a group of people, and they're just like coming up with these schemes to grow the empire. I
don't know the market and the math there, but if you sold this stuff to IKEA and sold thousands of prints for $50 versus you get this so big and get an IPO or get Google to buy it from you for billions of dollars.
Well, sure, but where's the money at? Like, I don't understand what is their monetization plan.
I think they're looking for investors. Like, there's a whole section in there where it tells you like what you can do. You can't buy a percentage of it, but you could donate money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can donate money, and I don't know. Like, I don't know the whole venture capital process behind it, but there's so many of them doing it now. So it's like, who's going to win? And you're like, well, Google's going to win. They have the largest database of images.
Yeah, but isn't this referencing Google? I mean,
I don't think so. I think that's why you have to use the URL to put your own images in there so it can reference that image. Because if you type in, one of them I did was Lee Morris versus Pi Jerza, Old San Juan. And I'm thinking they should be able to pull a lot of images to create something. And it produced 2 boxers in a boxing match. And they weren't you guys, and it looked really bad. And Old San Juan, it was like this old, like Cuban-looking town. It wasn't what you would have thought it would be. So,
well, when I think about who's the Beeple,
yeah,
like he has been creating incredible little works of art, one day at a time on Instagram or whatever. But everybody just assumed, like, oh, that's a human being using software to create this stuff, and then he ends up selling it as an NFT for ridiculous money. But like, what if you had this homemade software that could do the work 100% for you, and you were the only person on earth that had access to that?
Then it makes you wonder, has he come up with that for himself?
I mean, there's footage of him actually doing the art.
Yeah, but would he tell you if he had done this, or just... Because, I mean, after a while, an image a day for how many years has he done this? It's like he has to get it done by midnight every night. Like that would drive me crazy. Yeah, I would be so over it. But, if the money's coming in.
It never was. That's what's so interesting, is he never made any money until he made like $80 million or something.
All right, maybe we should get back to this. Do you want to rate this?
Yes. 3, 2, 1.
I'm between a
3.
I'm between a 3 and a 4, only because this location looks so unique and crazy.
Do you have a problem with the color on this?
Is it like too red?
That's what I'm like. I'm wondering, would I like this black and white? I don't know. I kind of want to see this straight out of camera too.
I kind of like the color.
It just feels like an animation. It doesn't feel real to me.
It looks like one of those pieces of art though that you would see in the lobby of a hotel. They always pick these weird bright colors, like oranges and reds that normally you don't see as often.
That's very specific. I don't know that I know about that.
Hotels.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
We're staying in the same color scheme.
Now, I've seen this image before. Has this been in other critiques? Where have I seen this before?
I've never seen this image before. I don't think I've ever critiqued this.
We've seen this image before somewhere. This was taken by Thomas Wohl. This was shot in Berlin in an underground walkthrough. 150 meters of tape were used and 2 strobes.
So they taped all of this out.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's funny. You know, when I see this, I guess I just assume that like
It's
a lot of
Photoshop
it's
or rendered
like
or something.
CGI type stuff, but no, I guess that's all real, and it looks great. Are you ready to rate it?
Think so.
3, 2, 1.
You going 4?
Yeah, this is my favorite image by far so far. You disagree?
There's something about it, and I don't know if it's the wide angle lens or my lack of liking the color orange. I don't know. There's something where I'm just like, it's not. It's starting to feel a little gimmicky or something. Like if you went tighter, let me watch the screen and make it more about her. Does it like
You can't cut her head.
something like that? Does that look a little more exciting? Whereas if you pull all the way out, it's just like too much information.
Okay. I mean, I see what you're saying.
I also feel like are you losing her legs or her shoes or something? And the fact that it's a parking garage, I mean, there's something about that always makes me feel like the image is cheaper. If you put a sports car in a parking garage, even one that's got as crazy lighting and colors as this, it just always feels like you're in a parking garage. Like how many super high-end images do you see that are in parking garages? It's like a subliminal thing. No?
I don't know. I feel like this is a really cool looking parking garage. I've seen really cheap looking stuff out of parking garages. I've also seen awesome stuff in parking garages. One of my favorite movies ever, I can't remember which Batman it is, but one of the Batmans begins in a parking garage. And you remember like, it's the one with Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And there's the fake Batmans, the people that are like dressing up like him to fight crime or whatever, and then the real Batman comes. I think it looks cool. Like I don't feel like the movie's cheapened because it's in a parking garage.
The difference with a movie, though, is you have so many frames and stories, and like you can make it look awesome. Where if you just pull one frame,
I don't know. Like if there was, 1993 Honda Civic in the background, yeah, it would feel really cheap. But because it's empty, I feel like this feels high end to me.
Now, if she was fighting a bunch of other orange dancers, then maybe I would be closer to a 4.
All right, next up. Interesting. This image was taken by Ali Al-Suleiman. I took this shot just before sunrise when it was looking misty and surreal. This work of art, sauna, is situated on a lake in Norway. Dude, Norway. I've been to Norway once. I want to go back again. But
When did you
it's
go to
beautiful.
Norway?
A long time ago. I actually have some family in Norway.
Yeah.
And so my whole family went to go see my cousins or something.
Did you get to see stuff like this, or was it like?
I didn't see anything like that.
But did you go see awesome stuff, or was it?
Yeah,
like,
we didn't spend a ton of time there, but one day they took us out on a boat and we went through the fjord.
Yeah.
So everything was just so clean and nice and everything. It was really cool.
I feel like these countries, like they feel the most like a video game where you go in and the landscapes are incredible and the architecture is super unique and clean and everything's crisp, and you kind of get that too in the southern hemisphere if you go to like New Zealand, or I would imagine Australia, or some of those islands and stuff where it's just like, whoa, this is totally crazy.
Yeah.
But then you go to a place like Germany, which is also clean and nice and has some cool topography, but you instantly lose this vibe in some of the other European countries, I feel like nothing like this is really in the United States. Maybe you have to go to like Alaska or somewhere.
And even like
Hawaii, there might be some stuff
so
like
much
this, but
crappy architecture in Alaska too. I mean, people just put up little sheds to live in.
Well, it's because
and
there's
stuff.
really no architects that have gone there and developed anything,
Right.
But that would be kind of a cool idea, is to do one of these Norwegian type homes in Alaska. It would fit in that atmosphere really well.
Yeah, it could.
You're right. You don't see a lot of that.
Are you ready to rate this?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. You know, this is a critique, 4 stars, we agree,
Of
about leading lines, and we haven't really been discussing the leading lines. I feel like this one is particularly interesting. I can't say that the photographer thought outside of the box here. I mean, that's the shot of this place, you know, he shot it straight on. But that walkway to the left looks so good.
Yeah. I keep thinking, like, looking at the model, and I keep seeing these little triangles on the torso. What do you think that is? I don't know if I could ever... Can you go full screen so maybe I can show it?
Triangles on the torso.
You see what I'm saying right there?
Just a really skinny woman, right?
No, I mean, I don't think... No. No, it's like you see the... This might even be a man unless she's topless. There's, like, swim trunks.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's 2 highlights that make a triangle on the bottom of the torso. I can't figure out what I'm looking at there.
I think it's just a really fit
No,
man.
it's not. I don't think so. I mean, that's like crazy anorexic.
It's probably just the lighting. Like the lighting's coming in and bouncing off that side.
And then what do you think all these little highlights are on the outside of the building?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I want a sparkly building sauna on a fjord. All right, we gave it 4 stars. I feel like this shot's awesome. Let's move on. Did somebody submit this?
What are the leading lines here, I think is what they're trying to say.
There's beautiful leading lines. Some are vertical, some are horizontal, and then we have a slight angle on the
To me,
side table right
everything's
there.
pointing to this lamp here. That's
But that's a beautiful guitar back there as well. Goodness, it's hard to do that.
Looks stolen. All right, let's move along. They don't even get credit for that because that's not their work of art, right?
That's true. It's my work of art.
You know how they say, like, if you hit the shutter, you're the owner of the copyright?
Mm-hmm.
If you hit the print screen button on a computer, does that make you the author and copyright owner of that capture?
Only if you own the NFT.
Has anyone ever done that where, you know how, like, there's those, is it Richard Price? What's the guy who does all of the Instagram's captures and then he tweaks them slightly?
Yeah, I don't know.
Has anyone ever just, like, taken screen captures on a desktop with, like, all the other junk around it? And then, like, this is the art?
I'm sure that has happened. All right, this was taken by, let's go full screen real quick here. Sven Taubert. This was taken in the Taj Mahal in Agra, India. Super easy morning, don't know what that means. Big challenge in the Taj Mahal. You are only allowed to carry 1 camera body and 1 lens attached. No tripod, no remote, no nothing. So you see a handheld shot from the sunrise within one of the mosques beside the main grave building. I really love the leading lines on the floor and tried to incorporate them. I like this a lot. Is there something weird going on with... Is that the Taj Mahal in the background? Sorry for my ignorance.
I would imagine.
Why does it look so weird and flat? Zoom in so that people can see a little
Weird
better.
and flat.
Huh?
You saying like the tonality?
Yeah, it looks like a pencil drawing or something. Why doesn't this look remotely like a photograph? I feel like, I mean, is there any chance that it was really dark or something and he's just brought up the shadow and there was no detail there? Something about this image, it feels like a old-timey
Google
art.
Taj Mahal, because is the Taj Mahal... I know the one shot where you're like looking down the road and you see the whole building, but is it really white or is it beige?
It's white. I mean, beigey white.
So they're in another building here looking back. But this isn't the standard shot of, that you normally see, because what you have on the screen here is the classic shot.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can also see where you can see the sun in this photograph, right? Here's the sun right here. So this image would be insanely backlit. But
Okay.
even with white and then the sky being lit, maybe there'd be some fill light on it. But I see what you're saying. Like if this was dark gray.
So take a look at that. So sorry, everyone who's not able to see this. I really need to get a second Apple TV in here so that I can screen share my laptop as well.
Can you
But
just flip your monitor around and... Would that even begin to work? Or?
Probably not. No, it's not going to work. But we're looking at a backlit shot that's very dark gray. And I'm guessing that's what this photographer did as well.
That's almost exactly the same shot. Like the sun is in the picture you're referencing. The sun is almost in the same position, just on the left. Mm-hmm. And they're closer and shooting wider, so you don't have the archway that you see in the image on the screen right now. But in terms of lighting conditions,
yep,
that's probably what it would look like.
So I'm a genius.
Well, but this one, the one that you have, the sky is properly exposed, where the one on our screen, the sky is almost blown out. So there is a difference in exposure.
I just think the photographer cut out that little doorway, and then he took those shadows and went up to, 100%.
But
I'm not saying it looks bad. I'm just saying it doesn't look very realistic, but that's
you ready
fine.
to rate this?
Yes. 3, 2, 1.
I think this might be one of my favorite images so far.
I am not upset about that. I feel like I do like it.
Having seen all of the images that you got on Google by typing in Taj Mahal, like this is not a common shot at all. Maybe among photographers it is, but not what's being referenced here. Now that one with the moon placed behind it's kind of crazy. The leading lines here are really nice. I like the people there, I feel like they're almost walking exactly the same. And look at their pants. It's almost like they have the same little butt crack. Isn't that kind of strange?
Wait, what?
Like their pants, it's
yeah.
like their pants are like strangely.
Let me go full screen so we can really look at the butt crack here.
The leading line here is quite strong. It goes straight from the bottom up, but like their shirt's almost the same. Like they're dressed very similarly.
Are they wearing shoes?
Maybe you can't wear shoes there.
Come on.
Is there a chance that these are guides? Like they're dressed the same
like
because
women. I don't know. All right, next up. And we'll go full screen again.
So I can't remember where this ranked on the community rating, but this image looked really interesting to me. It's like the contrast is very different from what you normally see, and maybe the time of day is still a little earlier than when you would normally want to shoot. Maybe? I don't know. There's just something going on where it feels kind of harsh and bright, but it's also got a lot of detail and clarity.
All right, this was taken by Tony Hughes. A beautiful summer's evening on the way to watch the sunset at El Gol. Don't know what that is. We stopped off at this lovely lone tree. There are a few paths in the area which lead up towards the Cullen mountain range behind. This one in particular provided a lovely leading line up towards the tree. Here's the magic right here. This is a bracketed exposure HDR shot. Due to the bright sun giving a high contrast scene. Luckily there was still some heather blooming. Yeah, so to me this feels very much like two different exposures, kind of one for the sky, one for the foreground, and I think that's why it looks so strange.
Just because the sky should be brighter? It's like the sky should be blown out in this lighting situation?
I think so.
And you can see the clouds. I mean, they really have kind of lost all detail up there.
There's really interesting light. Look on that mountain in the background.
Over here?
Yeah, that looks really interesting. I love when you can see the speckle through the clouds like that. I so rarely see that, I guess because I'm just not near the mountains, but when you're up on a mountain, you can kind of look down, or you can see mountains really far away, you tend to see that. And those make the best time lapses.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I think so.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 2 stars. I just feel like it's not bad, but should it be in your portfolio?
Yeah, I don't know. I keep wondering if the crop is too wide. Do we see too much information on the sky and too much? I see why you did the foreground, because you got these rocks up here.
Yeah.
But when you look at it small on the screen there, nothing screams out at you. It's not an image that you want to like click and look at a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if you like, I don't even know if you need to brighten the shadows up more, or if there was just a way, and I can't do it because it's a vertical image here, but if there was a way to just crop a little tighter, make it more about that tree. I don't know.
All right, next up.
This looks like a movie poster or
It
something.
does.
It's like
It's super cool.
the cabins in the woods.
Yeah, man, that is so cool. It's like, you know, a logo, a company logo in the middle.
Yeah.
It does feel like a movie poster. Let's see who took this. Stephen Devet. Taken at Königssee in southern Germany. These are a few of the old boathouses on the lake, taken with a Sony AR7 II 28 to 70 millimeter lens and used an ND filter to increase the exposure time. I assume to blur out the water a little bit more. So it's interesting. On the screen that's in front of me, I can't see as much detail. Like up there, it looks very dark and contrasty. When I look at it here, I see a lot more detail, but I might feel like this is overdoing it. This feels a little HDR-y, bloomy to me, where, you know, like on the edge of those dark shadows and the bright whites, there's like a little haloing or something going on that I can't see up there.
It's almost like the leading lines and the composition of the brightest part of this image is the strongest part of this image. And when you see the blacks crushed a little more, like you do in the video clip here, I can't even do it. Here. Yeah. The video on your screen, the one you guys are looking at, it's so contrasty, at least from this distance that we have, that I like it better. It's like all the highlights are funneling down, and then they give you the roof line, and then it gets even tighter, and then you get the blurred roof line and the reflection. And I just kind of want like maybe the windows to kind of give you a hint that you're seeing a cabin. And then you're like, why is it on water? Like, it's still kind of weird to think. Like, if you know it's a boathouse, you know that, oh, you're probably on a pier, and there's going to be boats in there lifted up out of the water. But if you don't know that, you think, like, is this a flooded town? Why is the water right under these homes? Like, it kind of makes your mind go all over the place.
Did we rate this?
I don't think so.
3, 2, 1. 3 stars.
I could give this a 4 with a little more, like I said, a little more polish, maybe a little lower vignette.
Is super cool. All right, next up. What do we have here? This was taken by Robert Tran. I'll go full screen for you guys at home. Hey, let us know how the audio sounds. We've been messing with our audio levels before we went live. Let me know how it sounds. Is it clipping at all? Can you hear the AC on behind me? He says, early AM shot of the Venice Grand Canal using the water and buildings as leading lines and the birds in a parabolic formation to take the eye full circle. Man, how did he train those birds to do that? This was a 7-shot composite. Oh, that's how. For the birds and boats, as the intent was to show the hustle and bustle of the morning. Okay. How do you feel about photoshopping birds into images, Patrick?
I love it. Might even win you a contest if you
love it.
I've put a bird in a landscape before, and then didn't you have a picture where you put? Did you Photoshop those in? You and Neely shot, didn't you have something about birds?
Oh, maybe I did.
Are you making fun of me or yourself here?
I'm not making fun of anybody. I was literally just asking, what are your thoughts on birds?
I look at this image, and I think this is awesome. I think without the birds, the sky's too boring, you know? I think the tones are really cool. Like, there's part of me that wants some lights coming out of the building, but then part of me is like, maybe that would cheapen it. The fact that you got these little highlights from the sun on the boats and just part of the buildings, it really creates a vibe and a mood, and it places you there. And I remember we were in, I don't know if it was the Vatican, but we were somewhere with Elia, and maybe we were trying to get him to say something for the promo video. And his whole idea was that moments in time is blending in the perfect blue hour with the lights that wouldn't translate at the right time. and you want to present this image to where it feels the way that it was when you were there, and you experienced something that was much more than a moment. You experienced something that's like 30 minutes. This does that. I can hear those seagulls. I can hear those motors. I can like tell that it feels like the beginning of the day versus the end of the day because the lights aren't on. This is just a great image where I feel like it sets the mood and it makes me feel a certain way. Where a lot of the other photos, I don't know that they've really made me feel any particular way. Like the girl in the parking garage, it makes me feel like I'm looking at art and a photographer trying to capture like a moment and build something. I don't feel like I'm looking at a photographer here. I think I'm looking into the city and experiencing a place that I've never been. And there's something cool about that.
How do you feel about the bird that's wing is touching the top of that tower?
I mean, maybe in an ideal world, if you had total control over this with Photoshop, which it sounds like he did, maybe I would just nudge him over a little bit, but...
I don't like that.
Yeah, it bothers you that much?
It does. My eye goes right to like the wing touching the tower.
But is that part of the leading
line? It keeps going. I don't look at anything but that wing touching the tower. And if this was a real image, then that's what you got. But if you're already photoshopping birds, I just want it above the tower. Just get that wing up there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean.
People are saying this doesn't even have straight lines. I think they're talking about this image. Like, this all looks pretty straight to me. I mean, maybe you could tilt it a little bit. And then with these old historic buildings, who knows if the lines even are straight, you know? I don't know that I would look at this and think this image is tilted.
All right,
and
next.
if it is, it's half a degree.
Up.
Did we rate this?
Oh, maybe not. 3, 2, 1. 3?
3? Maybe.
Careful.
Maybe I want to give it. I mean, this image is I feel like this is one of my top 2 or 3 images in this whole critique.
It's all right. It's all right.
Now, this image is pretty crazy.
This is crazy. Let me go full screen here. So this image was taken by Alexandre Watanabe. An image that I made years ago with the idea of creating an optical illusion using pencils. It could have been done using 60 pencils, but the effect would be different because of the lighting. So I photographed just one pencil and composed the final image.
Could you imagine trying to do this in camera with 60 pencils and get them that perfect? That almost seems impossible to me.
Yeah.
You've seen this image Mike Kelly did of the charcuterie board? It's like the world's largest...
Is it charcuterie or charcuterie?
Charcuterie?
I don't know. I always feel stupid when I say it. No, what did Mike Kelly do?
Like, he has a neighbor, I think, he has like a neighbor in California who, that's his job, is building these fancy boards, right? With all the cheeses and like all the different radishes and vegetables and fruits.
Like
and
he
stuff.
builds the wood board?
No. He builds like the presentation. So you'd hire him to cater.
Like a party.
Yeah, and he would build something the size of your laptop or the size of this desk.
Really?
And they decided, why don't we build something that's like 30 feet by 20 feet? Like something insane. It's like the size of this room that we're in. And Mike photographed it. This was a few months ago. But you can like zoom in and see the detail everywhere. Like,
oh look, I'll close this, find it, and
how can I easily find it?
You tell me. You're telling me about it right now. Where did you see it?
Do I find it on your iPad?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
So,
you talk while... This image just kind of reminds me... I mean, they're different in the sense that like this is just a single pencil. And there's not that much... There's a lot of detail, but it's repetitive.
Sure.
Mike's is like interesting because it's just like the same... The idea of building something real versus just doing it in Photoshop, you would think this board, how in the world are you going to build that?
Well, while Patrick looks this up, I don't know how many, we don't have that many people watching live anyway, and how many of you are fans of our Photographing the World series that we've done with Elia Liccardi. But if there is any crossover, we are currently talking with Elia about filming another one in Japan later this year. But what is different this time is that Patrick will be
I hate Instagram.
having a baby.
Why does Instagram not make their platform usable at all on anything other than the app?
That I do not know.
Like, I'm trying to find this image, but...
I'm trying to tell a story here. But Patrick will be having a baby with his wife, and so he is not able to go. So I was going to be filming it with an assistant, but of course if I do that, I don't think that there's going to be the behind the scenes series that we've done with Alaya every time previously. And Alaya just informed me that to get into Japan, you must hire a tour guide that is with you at all times. And so I'm like, this just doesn't sound like a good time to me. Maybe we should wait to film this when Patrick's available and when we don't have to have a tour guide all the time.
Such a nightmare to find stuff on here.
Patrick's getting me to log into Instagram here. Is it on his Instagram?
I mean, it is, but it shouldn't be that difficult to find. 'Cause now I gotta go to like his profile.
Was that not it right
It
there?
is, okay, so it has multiple images. I was just trying to make sure that we had...
All right, I'll go full screen here so everybody can see.
So you look at this image and you're like, oh, okay, like that's pretty crazy. There's a lot of ingredients there. I don't know. He doesn't have the full picture, but
There it is.
I mean, I think that
Good
I think
Lord.
that might even be a portion of it. Like, if you zoom into this and see, you know, like the size of a spoon or something, this is driving me crazy. Like, why does this not work? But let me see if the other guys.
What do they do with all that food?
He just said they ate it for like days, and I'm sure some of it goes bad. But
Yeah.
there's got to be a behind-the-scenes photo here somewhere. Maybe this is it. Like, this is just some of it.
The
where they-
charcuterie expert.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. And so, like, I don't know. It's just such a simple idea, but I think they both invested like $5 or $10 grand.
Holy shit.
This is like $5,000 worth of food. So Mike's
Good Lord.
like, I'll put up some, you put up some, let's create. I don't know if this is the world's largest ever. I don't know that they got an award.
They should have done it at a homeless shelter or something, where you know it could have been eaten instantly. But that's wild.
That's an interesting idea. It's like your wife is super picky.
Yeah.
Do you think people in homeless shelters would be like, what is this?
Well,
what am I going to eat?
Yeah, but there's
tonight?
got to be lots of cheese, right? Everybody likes that, and then there's
But the cheese that's in here, I imagine, I might not even like all the cheese. Like, it's, you know, got so many flavors and it's aged and it's, you know.
you get enough people, they're gonna tear that thing up in a few minutes for sure.
And when that would be the way to make this go even more viral, you know? It's like, this image is insane,
Yeah.
but watch the aftermath. Watch everyone come on it and eat, but
Yeah,
kind of
like a time lapse of everybody eating it would have been great. All right, next image.
try to get back to our images. Oh, did we rate this or finish? We didn't. This probably has the strongest leading lines of any of the images in this critique.
It does.
Do you like this image?
I do really like this image, and I'm kind of ashamed that I didn't even, I just saw it briefly. I didn't give it a second thought, but I never even considered that like the lighting on the pencil is the same and it's just been replicated a million times, right? I would love to see this done in real life with, directional lighting. But, like you said, that's probably impossible to get it to look good.
Charcuterie. That's how you say it.
I was right, you were wrong.
What did I say? Charcuterie?
Something dumb, yeah.
I look at this image, and at times, if you stare at it long enough, it's like things start to move, and like you start to get into a tunnel. And then my mind is also thinking, like, do I like that they're pencils, such a common object? And then there's all the underlying tones of what does a pencil mean, and you know, could it be used in some kind of context?
What does a pencil mean?
Well, I mean, if you had to make an image that's like, is the, you know, what's stronger, the pen or the sword, or, you know, something like that,
Yeah.
what would be the need for this image?
What's the need for any image, Patrick?
No, but if you were a writer, I could see like
Okay.
Ryan Strauss having an image like this
Sure,
on
but
the
it
wall,
could-
and it's like it means that you're a writer, and the pen, and the pencil, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I just keep thinking like if you had cut off the tip, Or you had carved out, since this is one image, this is one object, you could easily do this. Make that same sort of pencil reveal at the tip happen multiple times down the pencil, and then do this to where it's like a kaleidoscope. It doesn't just end where, There's just a lot you could do with this technique that I would think would look really crazy and cool.
Yeah.
But do I feel like would it look better if this was just a random stick that you did this with instead of a pencil?
No, I like the pencil for sure.
I do too. I'm just throwing out ideas of other things that might make this or another attempt at this more equally interesting.
All right, are you ready to rate this?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 4 on this. You went 2?
I went 4.
I just feel like this is relatively easy. I mean, anybody could do it, but this guy actually did it, and it's just super polished. And I just don't. If I, a professional photographer, look at this and don't immediately think like, oh, it's just copied in Photoshop. I'm just like, oh, that's a cool picture of pencils. There's no way the average person is going to be like, oh, that's just Photoshop. They're going to think that's an incredible photo of pencils. I could see this, like you said, for writers, I could see this just hanging on the wall as interesting art. It's just abstract from a distance. You can't even tell what it is. I could see this as an ad for a pencil company or like a colored pencil company or something.
If this was colored pencils, that would be super cool.
Maybe. I mean, I really like the black like that, though. That's
the other
cool.
thing I'm wondering is, how did he actually do this? Like, once you take the picture and you cut out the pencil, how do you systematically, it's probably like extremely tedious or incredibly easy, and I don't know how to do it. How do you lay this around in Photoshop to make it, like, none of them are off? I assume this is perfectly laid out, and every pixel is the same distance from the center.
I'm trying to think of how you would do it. There's a way...
like a kaleidoscope,
there's a way that you can set a point, and then you can like pivot an object around that point. So if he made the tip of the pencil from like the tip of the graphite to the middle of that empty circle in the middle, and you just do it once, and you click
for the inner circle, like the
yeah, there's
15 pencils that you see in the middle, or however many.
Yeah, just say in the very middle of this, there's a single pixel that's invisible. It's black, but that's the end of the pencil image.
Yep.
And he pivots around from that point, so he could put it basically anywhere. And then all you have to do is get a quarter of them done, and you flip it once, and then flip that the other way.
But you also have to know the scaling of that, right? Because you could start to do it and they'd run into each other, or the technique you're using would never allow that to happen. Like if you just did a quarter and that quarter's not perfect and you flipped it,
yeah, but you would create a grid in Photoshop, the ruler lines, and that's where you would set up the top pencil. I guess there is no top pencil.
But see, that's what's weird about it. If you look at the bottom here, that looks like the bottom would be straight down the grid.
You're right, yeah.
But if you go to the top of it, now it's like off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then if you go make your horizontal line, I don't know, it just still seems like kind of tricky to me. But you would then do it again to create the second layer, and then you do it again to create the third layer. There's stuff like that in Photoshop that I struggle with making paths and curving text.
Have you
how to make text curve around something correctly? I'm like, I can't figure out how to do this.
Have you learned to use the pen tool yet?
No, I still don't know how to use the pen tool. Yet I can go in and do frequency separation and make someone's skin look nearly flawless. There's a lot of things in Photoshop that I have absolutely no idea how to do.
Next up.
But that's the last image.
But we didn't do this image. Oh, you done messed up,
Oh
Patrick.
no, why is it not in here?
Remember last time I really messed up, and now it's your turn.
Turn off the...
That's fine. So, hide this.
I have it. I can get to it if you just don't show them
how you did it. Okay.
the secrets behind the... Now, how do I get back to your pictures? There we go. Now, I saved it. Now, why is it not there?
Did you save it or did you copy it?
No, I saved it.
Well, I don't know. You have one more chance.
It's right here. 0 kilobytes. What's going on there?
Huh. The image is in our email. I can see it, but when you click on it to make it bigger, it says the file itself doesn't exist. Here, just do it right there like that.
Just do that.
Yeah. Hopefully I don't have any incriminating emails. This image here. Let me see who took this shot.
There's no way to make this larger.
This was taken by Javier Salgado. Ready for harvest. This aerial image of a rice field was taken in Bali. Man, I keep hearing good things about Bali. We got to check that out. Where the local community views rice as a gift from God and a symbol of life. The little small shack is used by farmers to keep tools and be protected from strong sun and heat while they remain vigilant from birds having a feast. Super cool. I mean, very interesting lines, pretty color, interesting shadow. We've got that sun.
Have you done any drone photography?
Not
Like you
really.
fly the drone a lot, and we've done
I
all
don't
these.
fly it that much. That's the thing. I should, but I don't. It's funny, man. It's like when that DJI sent me their first drone ever. This was before DJI was even a company. Somebody who knew of me, got a job working for them, and sent me, I don't know if it was like a prototype, but it was like the first one. And I took that thing outside and I watched that thing zip around and I was like, it looked like CGI, but it was happening in front of me. Something moving that quickly and I'm contrling it. I'm like,
This is back when you had to have the GoPro mounted.
Yes.
They didn't even have a gimbal, I don't think.
no,
It was just
glued on there.
Is that when you chased the egret?
Yeah, I destroyed it like the next day. But since then, I've had like 10 drones and I've destroyed 9 of them. And every time I put it up, I'm like, this is incredible. But then I
lost
just
interest.
It's like, I don't know. It's like everything in my life. Everything is so cool the first few times you do it. But then the other thing about the drone stuff is I've broken so many of them and I'm so afraid of hurting someone or like damaging somebody's property or something that I'm so, I don't know if fearful is the right word, but it's all I think about when I'm flying the drone. Like, what if this drops out of the sky right now? What if something goes wrong? And
Well, in a scene like this, you don't have to worry at all. Like, it's not going to hurt anybody. You're going to lose the drone, but I just went to Fajardo a couple days ago. You just did the drive too.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the weather looked like when you did the drive, but when I did it, it's like all these, we live by this rainforest. It's like the only rainforest, I think, technically in the United States on land.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think even Hawaii doesn't have this type of rainforest. And so, anyway, I'm driving and I'm looking at this mountain thing and I'm just like, there's got to be a shot here where you could put the drone up, because I'm looking for a vantage point. I'm like, I don't think you can get to someone's private property. And if you do, you have the freeway or some like awful homes or something in the way. I'm like, maybe with the drone you could get this incredible shot. But in my mind, I just keep thinking like, what are the megapixels on these drone shots? They still like 12 megapixels. And are you ever going to get an image that's big enough to like print large to where you can just go up to it and see all the detail?
I mean, if you want to spend more money, we can get the Big Daddy drone, with the better camera. But I just feel like the one that I have is this little bitty drone. I can't remember the name of it now. And the video footage looks incredible. The images look great.
You don't have a Mavic anymore? It's
a Mavic Pro 3S or something. I don't even know I can't keep track of it.
Don't let them. You're not supposed to say that name yet. The 3S.
No, I was just on Facebook today and somebody posted a picture of some new DJI drone and I'm like, I don't even recognize that. Like, I cannot keep up with DJI. They're releasing new drones and gimbals monthly, and each
But there
one's
is
better.
this part of me, and maybe you're just kind of over it, but like there's this part of me that like wants, like we live in Puerto Rico. I don't know how long we're gonna be here.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, should I not be going out and at least like once a week trying to find a cool place to capture in a way that's never been captured before? Like we live around, this is the problem when you live somewhere too long. You live around this amazing beauty, and for the first year, we were like, we got to go take all these pictures.
Yep.
And then after a while, this happens in Charleston, happens in New York City, it happens anywhere that you stay for a long enough time.
Yep.
You're like, man, I don't need to go to the Statue of Liberty. I don't need to go to El Yunque. I don't need to go to the low country marsh where you can see some like beautiful, natural landscape.
And what about the zip line here?
We haven't done the zip line
We've been
either.
talking about that for 4 years.
We need to make an updated video on living in Puerto Rico, because I feel like a lot's happened.
Yeah.
And with the markets crashing and everything, like there's a lot of reasons to like leave and a lot of reasons for new people to come.
I just want if I want to wait a little bit longer and see if crypto truly crashes. I'm talking about like
It's
Bitcoin
over?
to $3,000, like real pain. Because
How is it not real pain though? I mean, I feel like real pain for people that have been in it for 10 years. Because all the people that got in crypto in the last like 3 years are flat out underwater, have to be.
no, that's not true.
What?
Bitcoin, let's look at Bitcoin right now. So look, Bitcoin
If you bought during the pandemic, aren't you totally screwed?
in 2020, Bitcoin was 5,000. In 2019, Bitcoin was 3,500. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
We've just become used to $60,000 Bitcoin, and a lot of people have moved here. Bitcoin bros have moved here. But a lot of the people that I have met that are big into crypto here, they've been in, since Bitcoin was in the hundreds.
Yeah.
So they're fine.
They're like buying $50 million yachts and
Yeah.
just being like, it's not a big deal. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh. Like, that's such a crazy. It's so insane that we live in a world where you could be just a guy that graduated college, and during that period of time, you bought a couple $1,000s worth of Bitcoin, and now you can afford multi-million-dollar boats. Like, has there ever been a transfer of wealth that quickly? I mean, there can't be, right? No one in the history of the world has ever been able to be just like middle class with no job, no work experience, nothing. And then all of a sudden, like, ridden a wave up to where now you can own toys that less than 0.1% of people in the world have ever even been on, let alone own.
Yeah, unless you, had the right Beanie Baby at the right time.
I don't even think there was enough gains for that
You're
to
right,
be a thing.
you're right. Yeah.
Even the people, like, you've met people who bought Amazon early on.
Mm-hmm.
They're just able to retire and live life peacefully. They're not able to go out and buy mega yachts and stuff.
Right.
But with that comes this crash to where you're like, oh my gosh, like, I can't imagine, you don't have it on the screen, but if you bought at near top of the market with leverage, your life's over with, right? Like, how could you possibly
I just
recover from
haven't met that person yet.
I see it all the time on like the subreddits and stuff where
Yes.
people are, it's like
Yeah.
there is blood in the streets for certain people.
Yeah.
But then there's also a huge part of the general public who has no idea what's going on. Like my parents, they're just like, Bitcoin's crashing, right? But I'm like, a lot of your retirement has crashed. If you have a 401k and you're invested in FANG stocks, it's bloody out there. Not as bloody as it could get. But it's just weird to live in a world where like some people are oblivious to what's happening, and then other people are like, oh my gosh, like I'll never recover from this.
I don't know if I told you, like I was playing pickleball with the guy who bought that big yacht
Yeah.
that you met months ago, and he was saying how big of a nightmare that boat has been.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like
This is I think he said his parents were involved in boating, like
Yes.
they're boaters, but he
Yeah.
was like, I've never owned a boat before.
yeah.
And I misunderstood him. He said I bought a 34-foot boat. Or maybe it was it was like a 30-foot boat. And I was like, oh, that's not quite big enough for these oceans out here. And he's like, oh, no, that's the tender that goes on the back. And I'm like, the 30-foot boat is the boat that goes on the back? And he was like, oh, it's 110-foot or something.
No. I think it was 135.
135,
155.
sorry, yeah.
Like it's like a cruise ship. But I was talking to him about
But
it.
it was his first purchase. I think he was like, that's the first boat I've bought. And I'm like,
No, he told me about some other boats that he's owned. He told me it was the most expensive thing he's ever bought, which makes sense.
I was thinking it's nicer than your house. Why wouldn't you just live on the boat?
Yeah. But the interesting thing is we were talking about it, and he basically regretted buying it. He was like, it's just a money pit, we know,
Yeah.
on our much smaller boat. But he was like, I bought it when Bitcoin was around 60,000. So even though I've lost, I don't know if he's lost millions of dollars on the boat, like owning it for a year or two. He's certainly lost hundreds of thousands just in the nature of boats. But he has actually made a ton of money
Yeah.
because Bitcoin has now dropped 66%.
He spent his Bitcoin to buy a boat.
Right.
And in some weird way, could the boat be worth more in the secondary market, like the used market? Because boats always depreciate, except when they don't. And all of a sudden, your used car that you've been driving for a year or two is now worth more than when you bought it. It's like nothing in the world makes sense.
But dude, the amount of fuel that boat sucks.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I mean, our boat.
Is it thousands of dollars a minute?
It can't be thousands of dollars a minute.
Thousands of dollars a
No.
mile?
No. Our boat burns a gallon a minute. So if it's $6 a gallon, it's $6 a minute.
Okay.
So his boat, might be like $50 a minute, $100 a minute.
Okay, so I'm off by a magnitude of 10.
Yeah.
That's still crazy though. But then you also have the staff. Like you have to,
Yeah.
like it's just, it's insane.
But he was basically like, it was a huge mistake. I shouldn't have bought it. But if he can sell it now and just buy his Bitcoin again,
it might have been a smart decision.
Yeah, exactly. Best horrible decision ever. All right, how do we get to talking about?
I just said we should like do an update on living in Puerto Rico and like doing photography and drones. Like I haven't gone out and explored the island hardly at all since the pandemic, and now the pandemic's over with and I still haven't. You kind of spilled the beans about the baby coming along.
Oh,
you have.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that.
Well, we haven't publicly told people.
Oh,
but,
shit, sorry.
You have a,
Nobody's watching.
You have a child, and you tell me all the time, like, it's hard to just get them in the car and drive to Fajardo to, like, go to a water park. And I'm like, if it's hard to do that, my life's really going to be in for a shock. But I haven't been traveling to begin with, so it's kind of like...
That's the thing. It's just, I understand why people stay at home with kids, because the kid's just happy at home. There's a routine. It's just easy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the lame old man who just stays at home all day with the kid, but I understand why people have a tendency to do that.
But you're thinking of taking them to Japan?
Yeah, I do want to take him to Japan. Honestly, I would prefer to leave him with my parents, but Katie will never do that.
Yeah.
So he's coming to Japan if she comes. But I don't know if this Japan trip is going to happen now or later or what.
Well, yeah, we need another platform to talk about this stuff. Like, we have this live channel, but we're not really doing the COVID journals anymore, although, like, seems like the world is burning harder than ever before. And
Well,
this is what
we are now paying... We are just at the beginning of paying for all the free money that we gave away 2 years ago. So Peter Schiff, he put it very succinctly in like a Facebook post. He was like, if it was necessary to, do the helicopter money 2 years ago, then you must admit that what we're about to go through was also necessary. This was the decision that we made 2 years ago, and now we have to pay for it. So,
but is it
don't
better?
complain.
Like, if everyone got unemployed and had a hard time during COVID, when you had this like monster umbrella over you of like, we might all die from this virus. But it only lasted for like a year and a half. And then we could come out of it not printing our money and not saving people. And we just had hard times already. Could we be coming out of it now and being like, okay, no, we can't, because the rest of the world still, like China would still have all their ships full of cargo that they can't, like all of the supply lines and everything still would have been bogged down. Like, we couldn't have made that decision independently and said, we're going to go this way while the rest of the world goes this way.
I don't think we would have had a housing and car and video game and everything boom if they hadn't have printed all that money. I think people would have hunkered down and been like, man, we better not spend money because we don't have jobs right now. And there would have been a slow recovery.
I'm just wondering, like, how bad could it have been, and then how quickly would we have recovered? Because it feels like, and everyone likes to predict how bad the world's about to be, but like, it feels like we're about to fall off a cliff. And very few normal people, like my parents, don't really know this. They're just upset about gas prices and what Biden's doing about gas. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, I was watching something about the Hoover Dam today.
Yeah.
It's like the Hoover Dam is like the water from Lake Mead.
Oh, I saw
It's
this.
at like the lowest level in 30 years, like 100 years, or the lowest maybe ever. And they're saying, like, if the water pressure isn't a certain height, that like the structure itself might not be sound because the water is used
it's holding it up
in a way. And they're just like, somebody here was sending an article and they were like, the power crisis and water crisis that Arizona, Nevada, or is it Nevada? I always get it mixed up.
I think it's both.
And then California are about to experience, the southeast of America are about to experience from this whole thing are like really, really bad. And maybe this is all going to come to pass and we're going to look back on it and be like, remember when the Hoover Dam wasn't able to produce any energy and produce any water? But I don't know. Like, it just feels like everything is coming to a head And today you got these Supreme Court rulings on like the guns and the abortion. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like, this is the stuff we were worried about during the coronavirus journal. And then like, we just like said, oh, it's all over with. Everything's going to be fine. And then now it's like, man.
Yeah, but what Peter Schiff has been predicting literally for years now is that we will raise interest rates to slow inflation, but they will flinch. Things are going to start getting bad, and then they're going to lower interest rates and probably start up quantitative easing again, buying bonds and all the stuff to try to jumpstart the economy. But then when they do that, inflation takes off again, and it's just this...
So you're just constantly trying to get ahead of the horse.
Exactly,
but can we? I've heard these arguments like, can we pay? I don't totally know the interest rate thing. Like the interest rate going up doesn't necessarily mean that that's the interest rate that you and I are going to deal with on credit cards and stuff. It filters down to that, but it has something more to do with the way banks are trading money between themselves, right?
Yeah.
And there's this idea. I'm not an economics person at all, but if you raise the interest rates to a certain level, like the U.S. will just default on our debt, which would spiral us into even a worse thing than the inflation of just everyone being poor because we can't afford anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we can just raise the interest rates to 14 or 15, 20%, whatever it needs to be to get ahead of inflation. I don't know that we can do that. Isn't that the narrative?
Yeah.
That we've worked ourselves in this rock and a hard place where, if inflation was just, 10%, but our debt was still a couple $1 trillion. What is our debt now? Like 15, 20 trillion bucks?
I don't even have any idea.
It's like, I don't think we can up the interest rates now and survive. Our currency won't survive at that rate, is my very surface level understanding of it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But then you listen to some experts and they're like, yeah, it's bad, but we're still doing better than other countries and other currencies. So
yeah,
who the hell knows?
Crazy world.
All right, I think it's time to end this. If you'd like to be part of the next critique, head over to fstoppers.com/contests. And if you would like to check out our tutorials, I was just thinking we didn't give away the second tutorial. If you have lasted this long, the last photo that Patrick had to find in the email of Bali, you're a winner. Send me a private message on Fstoppers. Let me know which tutorial you'd like. You can check them all out at fstoppers.com/store.
I don't think we even rated that image. And
let's rate it right now.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. 3 stars.
Solid 3.
It's pretty good.
And if you have those crazy images of cliche photos that you've taken, that's the next critique. That's going to be a total shit show next week or two. I'm excited to see what people publish, and maybe people have really good cliche photos.
Hey, look, Samuel Ryan actually left a nice comment. He says, completely off topic, but this is all interesting, hearing your thoughts on the world economic problems, etc. We have one person that enjoys our random conversations. Don't worry, Sony will release a new camera next month and the world will be right as rain. Are they planning on release? Like, I'm so out of the loop, man. I've been trying to think of other videos to make for our main Fstoppers channel.
You should just do reaction videos of like professional photographer tries A7, S4, whatever's out now.
Well, yeah, those are relatively easy videos to make. But one video that we did a long time ago that it's time to update is who makes the best lens, like Sigma versus Tamron versus Sony, 24-70mm lenses.
Yeah. Which
one's the best for the money? I haven't even used a freaking Sony lens on all the Sony cameras that we own now. Everything is Tamron.
I think I have a Sony lens. It's like an f4 or something.
Yeah.
Like a digital
that's a
zoom.
cheap one. Yeah.
But or like who's the king of low ISO or high ISO? Who has the best image quality, best autofocus, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Has there been really negative reviews on the GH6?
I think people are just like,
I saw something
love
with
the
banning
G5.
and like all kinds of crazy stuff.
I just did not care. The second I read does not really improve autofocus, I'm like, okay, like right now, we have autofocus on. I don't know if it's locked onto me or you, Patrick, but I just rely on it 100%.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, let's call it. Guys, thanks for watching. I will see you later.